When will the Seattle housing market crash? I'm Christian Harris, founder of the C-Town Real Estate team here in Seattle. I live, work, and play right here in Seattle and have for a long time. If you want to know more about living your best life in Seattle, make sure to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell so that you are notified when we upload new episodes every week. And give me a call or shoot me a text. I love helping people like you discover where they want to be in Seattle. Additional details and resources can be found in the video description below. So let's get into this. When will the Seattle housing market crash? I get a lot of friends and clients who are concerned saying, isn't these high prices, isn't that just like what happened right before the 2008 housing crisis and housing crash? So on the surface, the symptoms may look similar. You got the record high housing prices and market, just like we saw back in 2008. However, the cause is totally different. Back then, what we had going on was a deregulation of the lending qualifications and subprime loans. So they're giving out loans to people who really had no business getting loans.
Talking rock bottom FICO scores.
These people are high risk and have statistically a low likelihood of paying back their loans. They call them subprime mortgages because they were less than ideal. A lot of these mortgages had ARMs, a 3-year or 5-year, even a 7-year ARM, which basically meant that at the 3 years or 5 years after the mortgage, that the rates would adjust based on where the rates had been. So if the rates go down, your monthly payment would go down, but if the rates go up, then your monthly payment could adjust significantly. And that's what we saw. A lot of people who didn't have down payments, couldn't afford their houses, or could barely afford it. As soon as that ARM adjusted, their payments skyrocketed and they couldn't pay anymore. So this led to a lot of people having massive monthly mortgage payment increases that led to mortgage default and then to massive number of foreclosures. And so that's when you had tons of houses that foreclosed, people losing their houses, and that's just not what we see nowadays because there are very few subprime mortgage products out there. What's causing these record high prices is simple supply and demand economics. There simply is not enough houses available for the people who want to buy houses. Now, as of the recording of this in September, looking at the data from August, we are seeing the housing market cool off, and interest rates have increased about 2% since the beginning of 2022, which is pretty significant considering that almost doubles the interest rates when they're at their lowest last year. But while the market in Seattle is cooling, it is still going up, just at a much slower rate than the double-digit home value increases that we have seen over these last 6 years in Seattle, except for 2019, where we did have a noticeable dip in home values. There's still a long way to go before the Seattle market is actually balanced, let alone could be considered having transitioned into a buyer's market. So it is still technically a seller's market. It's just a much cooler seller's market than what we've been used to in the past 5-6 years. Though the good news on this is it does mean more opportunities for buyers. So we are seeing houses sitting on the market longer. We are seeing that if there are multiple offers, the competition has mellowed out some. You're not seeing massive escalation clauses and massive houses selling for substantially over asking price anymore. It's becoming more common to see houses actually going for asking price, or even in some cases a little below asking price, as houses stay on the market a little longer than we're used to. So what about the inflation and the recession, you might ask? So you may be surprised to find out that there actually is not a direct correlation between economic recession and housing values. Out of the last 6 recessions, only 2 of them have actually affected the real estate market, and one of them, obviously the 2008-2009, was directly caused by the real estate market. So in a nutshell, the Seattle housing market slowing down from the craziness it's been over these last few years is not equivalent to the market crashing. I've had some would-be buyers saying since 2014, hey, we're just going to wait for the market to cool off and then we'll buy. Unfortunately, that was 60% ago, as far as house values have increased 60% since 2014. So trying to time the market and wait for values to go down, that is generally not a good idea because just like trying to time the stock market, it usually doesn't work out very well. When you have to buy a house or when you need to buy a house, I would go ahead and buy a house. Obviously, you give me a call. I'd love to help you with that. But in general, you don't want to wait for housing prices to go down because it's not normal to have a crash like we did in 2008 and market values just plummet. I think, looking at the data, that the market in Seattle is going to level off a little bit, maybe dip, but not substantially. But overall, it is going to keep going up because historically, house values mirror inflation, which is typically around 3%. Right now, I believe inflation's around 6 or 9%. So there's that. I think it will level off a little bit, but it's going to keep going up just at a much slower rate. Markets are not crashing. Give me a call. It's actually a great time to buy, especially while interest rates have kind of leveled off. They're expected to keep going up next year. We'll see if that prediction is true. Anyway, thanks for tuning into this. Give it a thumbs up and give me a call if you have any questions about the market or what it would look like to buy or sell real estate in Seattle.